Hello and welcome to what's this called again? One storyteller. It's
There
been
you
like
go.
2 weeks and it's
Yeah,
raining outside. It's not supposed to rain here.
it's raining in Arizona. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's how it goes. Can't believe I've been doxxed online now. Everyone
Oh,
knows where I live
rip.
forever. I'll be hunted down for all my
Okay.
offensive viewpoints about how bad the second half of Two Towers is,
Oh my goodness.
based on
Yeah.
chapter 1. So we're in chapter 1, which is chapter 12. But it's chapter 1 of part 2, which is book
Yes.
4.
Oh my goodness.
I hate this. I hate this. It's the
You're
Taming of
just making it
Smeagol.
worse when you break it down like that.
I'm just making sense of it live on stream for the first time. It
Anyway,
doesn't go
this is
well.
wonderful. This is the first chapter of the second half of the Two Towers.
Yes.
We're one storyteller,
Yep.
and we're excited to tell you about this story.
I feel like that's what I said, sort of.
Uh, yeah,
I said a
it
lot
was
of
sort of.
other things too, but it was also in there at some point. So we're second half of Two Towers, which means we're moving into the Frodo and Sam section
Yes.
because Tolkien did the cool thing where you don't intercut character perspectives,
Yeah.
and instead it was a dedicated story of Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli that was intercut a little bit with Merry and Pippin, but it was like
That's right.
it was the Rohan story, and now it is the east side of the Anduin story, I guess.
Yeah.
So Frodo and Sam, the only two characters in this chapter, obviously. Um, we'll see how that ages as we go.
Yes.
So remind me, the last thing that happened. I forget exactly how Fellowship ends because it's been a while.
Yeah. We
Um,
we just end with Sam barely catching Frodo
mhm.
before he absconds on a boat to cross the river. And I think the last line is about them, clambering up into the hills on the eastern side.
Yeah,
So we haven't seen them since that moment.
yeah. And is it the Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli see them as they're
They don't
leaving,
see
or they
them.
just
No.
they just see the boat that's missing?
Yeah, and Sam's pack is what helps them to deduce the truth there.
Hmm. So they know who's gone, but they know those two are gone, and they went to the east side, which was the orc side.
Yes.
So not a great time, but at least the Nazgul got shot down. So you know that was better. That was better. This chapter, Taming of Smeagol, not a spoiler for what's going to happen, obviously, is set. It's like 3 days after the end of Fellowship, so it would be the equivalent would be like right around when Aragorn and his gang are finding the dead orc pile. Is that the
I
chronology?
think, yeah, the orc pile or Amber. Something in there. Yeah.
Okay, because that was like because the first half of Two Towers picks up from the very
Like,
end of
same
Fellowship.
day. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's about 3 days until they find
That's right.
the Rohanites. So that's vaguely when this is happening. Do these spoilers for the end of Two Towers? I guess do they end at parallel points in the timeline, or are they misaligned? Like end of Two Towers for Frodo and Sam versus Aragorn, Legolas, and
It's
Gimli.
misaligned a little bit,
Okay.
as far as how you're framing it. Tolkien will. There's several points where Tolkien will kind of zoom out and just tell you what the parallel is.
Hmm.
So some of the stuff we're reading here in Two Towers will have called out parallels in the first half of Return of the King.
Okay. Okay. So some of Frodo's story is happening during the post Rohan period.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's not confusing at all. It probably helps when the man writes the whole series together as one book and then just kind
Yeah,
of
you can.
splits it
It's
up.
hard to keep track of timelines sometime, so
Hmm.
it's neat the effort he took, and it's kind of neat. The zoom out parallel moments are cool.
Very cool. Very cool. Is that just in the text? Like, now this came about when Aragorn was
Essentially, yeah.
Very
I guess
biblical.
in the fantasy of the story, it would be, Frodo's like, this is when that happened, guys.
Oh yeah, right, because he's the
Yeah,
actual chronicler
yeah,
or whatever. Fair enough. So third evening after they've left, this is it's interesting that this chapter seems to talk a lot about how they've left everybody behind.
yeah.
There's a big emphasis on that, but there's also a big emphasis on how they haven't left everybody behind because they keep getting foreign aid, as they call it, over and over and over again. I guess we'll get into that as we go. Um,
Yeah. It's a it's sort of a transition point, right? It's not as needed for the first chapter of Two Towers because, like you already noticed, you're right on the heels of where Fellowship ended.
mhm,
Here, it makes sense to take a little time reestablishing things. One thing that I think is really cool about this section is there's sort of a tone difference. And I think mostly it's in the dialogue. Frodo is like a very well-spoken, noble sort of guy, but he's also able to talk with Sam without it feeling jarring.
mhm,
And Sam is like not that way. So the way they talk is like pretty different from Aragorn and Gandalf and Theoden, who were some of our more verbose characters in the last section. And we also have more time. We're not reading about traveling as much as different characters' thoughts and things. So I think that's kind of neat in this part of the book.
mhm. Yeah, it's much. It's also a break from Fellowship, is in terms of
That's
not
a good
the
point. Yeah.
overarching journey and such, but the individual characters within it.
I think one of the biggest things is we're able to stay with the same cast for almost the whole time.
Hmm.
So you're able to really dive into more a more personal view of things.
Yeah, yeah. I did notice there are a lot of like short kind of sections that are broken up by asterisks or like just spaces.
Yeah.
But it's like a brief moment of their travel, and then an hour later, a brief moment of their travel, and then an hour later, something like that. So the structure of this is very much like segmented. Of this was the interesting thing that happened in this part of our journey, and then we drove for another hour, and then something else
Yes,
happened.
that's right.
It's very much like a ride along section for Frodo and Sam. Does this chapter take place over 1 day, 2 days, something?
I think most of it's one day, and we sort of get a summary of some other days.
Yeah.
I don't. It's mostly one day, but I think
Basically, they're stuck in the mountains for a while,
yeah,
and Aemon Will, or however you say it, is kind of just rocky, and that's all there is to it. There's nothing good. There's nothing alive. There's no
yeah.
orcs, but
Hooray!
that's the good thing. There's also no grass. There's no wood. There's barely anywhere to shelter or anything, and so just
Right.
kind of a miserable existence. But they're looking for a way out to try and get to Mordor eventually. And they can kind of see Mordor on the horizon,
Hmm.
but they can't get there because they
Yeah,
keep going down the mountains into the valleys and then getting lost again.
that's one of the first things that stood out to me is this line. Uh, Frodo's talking. If I must get there, I wish I could get there quickly and make it end,
Mm-hmm.
which is just a very relatable thing. If there's ever something dreadful or very difficult, you almost wish you could find the fast forward button, just not have to go through the tedium and all the slow unfolding of something difficult that really just compounds how hard it is.
Yeah, yeah, and there's a line right after that where he says it's my doom to go into that shadow. So it's back to the like predestination kind of thing. There are a couple of things in this chapter that are along that line.
Yeah, yeah.
especially with how they deal with Smeagol later on.
Yes,
Spoilers,
exactly.
but that's going to happen at some point. And so I guess we could talk about that more when we get there. But he does say the point was to do this quickly because Sauron wasn't going to expect it if it was fast.
Yep.
But the mountain is kind of killing all our speed, and that's going to be unfortunate for us. So that's disappointing for them. There's mention here. This is the first time that they're really talking about like everybody having left them, or them having left everyone else, and yet all the food that they have is elvish food, and so it's not like they're not being helped by other people. It's the elves have still supplied them and are still going to supply them through the rest of the journey. So as much as they have left some help behind, they do have help with them, and the elves are going to represent a lot in this chapter as you go. After this is the first mention of Gollum following them.
Yeah.
Was that brought up in Fellowship?
Yeah, yeah.
Because he was floating like a log or with a log.
Right. Yeah. So a couple of things, but that was the most recent one, is how he was following them on the river.
Yeah. There's just kind of a conversation that's like, did you see them again? No. Ah, those eyes. It's like, what in
Yes.
the world are they talking about? So Gollum is following them. This Smeagol guy from The Hobbit
Mhm.
cameo character. Gandalf died, and so they needed a replacement Hobbit cameo. It's Gollum. Gollum's not a good guy, but we're
No,
gonna deal with that later in the
he
chapter.
is very fascinating.
Yeah, I find it curious that Frodo says in that section, Gollum's eyes were absent, but Sauron's eye is here. Like he's looking ahead to it. So there's a weird little comparison there. And how the
Yeah.
eye of Sauron is a great thing. And we will
Uh,
leave it at that.
greatly bad.
Do you have anything to say about their travel?
Not about their travel. I
Okay,
think there are a couple other things early on. I'll just kind of run through
sure.
sort of quickly. We mentioned sort of this idea of destiny. In Lord of the Rings, they usually say doom instead of destiny. Maybe it will turn out to be a good thing if you're fated for something, but it's not likely to be comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So Frodo says he thinks it's his doom to make it to Mordor. It's not, when Tolkien talks about doom, it's not something his characters are 100% sure on.
Yeah.
But when they have a sense of it, it doesn't turn out it's usually wrong. But one thing Frodo is especially unsure about is whether good or evil will show it to him, which is sort of a weird thing to say, but it serves to prepare us for Smeagol being a guide pretty well. And maybe that adds some extra tension to how Smeagol will turn out, which is one of the more interesting conflicts in this chapter, or in this section of the book.
Smeagol is a good guy.
Sometimes he almost is.
Questions. Questions
There's a
on that.
neat parallel to Aragorn. Uh, Aragorn is so upset in the beginning of this Two Towers book, where he says, "All my choices have proven ill." Frodo says like the same thing, which is fair, especially for Frodo. um, he was trying for sure, but a lot of rough choices. So it makes sense he's kind of feeling discouraged by that. What's the last thing here? When they're talking about the eyes, uh, Sam, I like how we're getting all these well-defined character moments in this chapter. Sam is like, I wish I could just strangle that creepy guy, which is pretty fair. But Frodo says, I hope we just don't see him, which is maybe sort of a soft rebuke of that. But mostly you're seeing Sam has no problem beating up someone he believes is totally evil, and Frodo would just rather not see him.
Hmm.
So those are the two places they're occupying before they meet Smeagol,
Yeah.
which is interesting to notice.
Yeah. Even in the later in the chapter, it's pointed out Sam talks a lot harsher than he actually acts, and so
Usually so.
even in that, it's like he's very excited to express a want to get rid of Gollum, but he doesn't actually do it. I guess
Mhm.
too nice. But they
Yeah,
start traveling. There's a whole bit that just like,
it goes on for a little while.
yeah, it's just they're traveling. I mean, I guess there's not much you can write about when all you're doing is like clambering on rocks. But there's this whole bit where Frodo wants to get down a cliff and then he like falls, but it, he doesn't fall too far. And oh man, there's just so much that happens here. I don't even want to talk
There's
about
a
that.
lot
This is such a goofy part. Do you have anything helpful to say on this?
on the cliff clambering.
The cliff clambering, the bit where he falls over and then goes blind.
Yeah,
Like, what in the
you're
world is happening?
yeah. I think it's something supposed to be sort of mysterious at this juncture, but I think it is. Frodo has like a pretty intense sensitivity to the Nazgul after being poisoned by one of their daggers. But neither of the characters right now know that, so they're just kind of confused and then decide to move on. I do think there's a really good character moment here for Sam. Sam hates the idea of going down the cliff,
They need to
and
go down the
also,
cliff to proceed further or something.
yeah, you have to go down at some point.
Yeah.
But Sam hates this idea. He doesn't like climbing, and there's a line. It's like, it's unlikely Sam ever did something braver in cold blood, or more stupid, which was just to immediately try to climb down without any rope or experience with climbing.
Hmm.
But it does show. Frodo asks him, "Why did you change your mind? You hated this idea, and now you're going to do it." And Sam's mind didn't change. He's going to do his best to help Frodo.
Yeah.
It's really this excellent example. I don't think you could call it anything else except submissiveness, which is not like Sam is being like quiet and uncertain about things, but he said what he thought, and he's going to listen to his master after that, which is just really admirable.
Yeah.
And there's a neat Frodo moment too, where Sam had a rope the whole time and forgot about it, and Frodo, he's a bit exasperated, but he's also very forgiving about that
Hmm.
whole idiocy.
Yeah. So there's a cliff to go down. Frodo says he's going. Sam says, "Let me go first."
Yeah,
Basically, if anyone's gonna fall, it should be me, and I don't want to kill you when I land on you.
he's got a heavy backpack.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So that makes sense. Frodo goes to climb on like an easier passageway, basically. But as he's going down, there's a Nazgul shriek, and so he loses his handhold, falls,
Yeah,
goes
yeah,
blind for a bit. Sam is like, "Ah, yes, I have rope." Sam throws the rope down to Frodo, and then Frodo can see again
yeah.
because the rope is
It's
elvish.
elfish. Yes, you got it.
So the elves can cure blindness.
There's nothing more different than the Nazgul than an elf. So
So elf rope cures your blindness.
yeah, well,
I
you imagine it's sort of like infused with their passive magic. Might be the best way to say that.
Mhm.
It's sort of like if the scream of a Nazgul is setting off Frodo's wound from Nazgul knife, then there is some sense to something handled by elves kind of being a cure to that.
Yeah, it's weird to me that it's suddenly blindness because Nazgul haven't had anything to do with blindness before. That's never arisen before, and then it just
I,
kind of happened. So it's very odd interaction to me because it doesn't seem
no,
to be
no,
related.
I
Um,
can respect that very much.
I understand what he's going for with like Nazgul mess you up and the elves fix you, like that
Yeah,
evil versus righteousness, kind of corrupted angels versus righteous angels in some form. You can see the comparison there. It's just like a
yeah.
very weird moment.
I don't think the blindness is entirely unexpected, though. Remember when Frodo was stabbed and being lugged to Rivendell? His vision is one of the first things we have described to us to show that he's being corrupted by that wound. Um, he can't see as well in the waking world. He can see better in the, I think they call it the Wraith world or something like that. So,
Pretty sure that's the Shadow of Mordor term for it, but
okay.
yeah,
But everyone knows what I mean.
everyone
So,
does. Shadow of Mordor is excellent. So yeah, I can kind of see that, and even in that earlier interaction, when he saw elves, the elves were glowing because they had like the
that's
imbued
right.
righteousness or whatever about them. They were special in that way, and so it makes sense that like the rope glows. I understand the mechanics of that.
Mhm.
It's just it's out of nowhere for me. It's like, oh, he's blind.
I
Oh,
understand.
he's not blind anymore. But he climbs back out,
Yep.
and rain comes through, and then they use the rope to go right back down in
Yep.
a safer way. They make it down to the bottom, and this is another thing. Oh man, this isn't even like a bad chapter. I enjoyed reading this chapter,
Okay, good.
but it's still goofy. The rope. So they tie the rope to a stump and lower
Yeah.
themselves down by it. Sam is very trusting of the rope, and he's also being lowered by Frodo as well. Frodo is not very trusting of the rope, but learns that the rope is reliable. He has to scale some patches of the cliff or go down them by just kind of dropping because they don't have handholds, and the rope holds him up. But the
Yes.
problem with the rope, what's the problem with the rope? It's stuck, right? They can't get it back down.
Yep.
And then Sam whispers the magic word, and the rope comes down.
That's right. Well, I don't know if he really whispers a magic word as much as he just tugs on it.
Well, he tugs on it with the name of Galadriel, right?
If he did, I missed that. That might be something that happened.
Top of page 241 in the official version. He goes
Oh,
hard parting with anything I brought. Made by Galadriel herself. By what? By Galadriel herself too, maybe.
okay.
Galadriel, and he pulls on
Maybe.
it, and it comes out.
Yes. If he did that, definitely by accident.
Yes,
I thought of that by as like a password sort of thing, but maybe.
I think it's just like he's just remembering it and is like, I wish I could take this, but there is
Yeah.
something about the name of Galadriel that
Yeah.
does.
Maybe so. Maybe.
The didn't it say she was the one who made the rope
Yeah.
in Fellowship?
I
So
think that's right.
yeah, he in not so many words he kind of prays to her and she answers it by the lens of the rope. So it's an odd interaction. It is cool. It's another picture, right? So you got the elf bread that keeps them alive. You got the
Yeah.
elf rope that keeps them alive. That's the second elf thing that's gonna do it. And then
And
they're
you got
able
the
to,
hide and sleep with the elf cloaks.
yes, and that's also going to keep them alive. So you're as much as they have left Rivendell and left Lothlorien and left all those good things behind, they still have support from all of those good things.
Yeah. Well, see, the cliff episode really illustrates a couple things,
Mm-hmm.
which is these people are unsuitable for an adventure like this by themselves.
Very.
So they're barely making it by on the skin of their teeth, which is all these blessings from the elves. They would be dead without the limbus, without the cloaks, without the rope. But even with all these things, we're seeing at this point they really need a guide or help of some sort.
Yeah,
They're they don't really have much of a hope by themselves.
yeah, yeah. They get. I guess it's been like 3 days, and they're finally getting to the edge of this mountain pass
Mhm.
somewhere or somewhere nearer to it.
Yeah.
But they're still like wandering around in the mountains.
Yeah.
Mary was their first guide, who got them through the Shire, but then lost in the Old Forest. Aragorn did a lot of work for them in the Bree and the that kind of lone land section as they went out to Weathertop and passed from there. But still, I guess he knew the Trollshaws too as the other area. But then they relied on him and Gandalf for everything until now, and it's clear that they can't do it by themselves, and so they are traveling, but they're needing somebody else. It just so happens that on this night in which they make camp, uh, they spot a golem who's been
Yes.
following them, and I'm not exactly sure of Gollum's travel pattern. It seems like he does not like traveling in the moonlight, so it's kind
No.
of odd to me that here he's traveling in the moonlight, but
Yeah.
whatever.
Well, it's the lesser of two evils for him, I guess.
Fair. Although when he's asked to travel later on, he says not by the moonlight, but we can go
Mhm.
after the moon goes away. But yeah, he hates the sun absolutely.
Yeah.
He hates the moon. I mean, living underground for 500 years will do that to a person.
Yeah. Crazy stuff.
And I kind of hate the sun, and I just live indoors for not very long. But here we are.
Yeah.
So Gollum's following them. He's followed them since when? Has he
I
been
think
following
that
them since Rivendell?
since Moria.
Okay, he picked them up in Moria.
That's right.
Yeah, and he's been following them after. Still looking for them. It happens that when they wear their elf cloaks, they get cool camo capabilities,
Oh
and
yeah.
they are hidden from sight. He can hear them talking, and he can like
Hmm.
kind of hear them breathing. He knows vaguely where they are, but he can't see them. So the elves are stepping in, doing all the heavy lifting here. And as Gollum goes to descend a cliff, he falls over, and
Yeah.
Sam jumps
It's a
him.
it's a good thing they had the rope because it's a cliff even Gollum had trouble with.
Mm, yeah, and Sam jumps Gollum after he falls. Gollum still wins. I mean,
Yeah.
Sam is
It's
talk about not
yeah.
being equipped for your task.
Yeah. The description there of that little scuffle is pretty creepy.
Hmm.
Imagine having to wrestle Gollum is not very fun.
Not particularly pleasant, no. And it says it's kind of telling about Sam's character there because he's creeping up towards the cliff to kind of almost set an ambush for him, and then when he jumps on him, oh, where is it?
Uh,
It says
oh,
he was angry and disgusted by Gollum.
yes, that's right. This is after. Oh, right before he jumps him. Yeah.
Right before he
Sam
falls.
restrained himself, though his fingers were twitching. His eyes were filled with anger and disgust, fixed on the wretched creature as he began to move again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Sam legitimately harbors strong feelings towards this
Yeah.
creature.
And I think it's like Sam isn't wrong, but he has like a more black and white worldview than what we see in contrast that Frodo has.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I don't know. Like, what is Sam's exposure to Gollum? Presumably, he's
he's
heard Bilbo's stories. I guess.
That's it. And then some what Gandalf told Frodo back at the beginning of Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah. Did Gandalf tell Frodo that within Sam's hearing?
I think so.
Was
I guess technically maybe not everything, but that's where Sam is trimming the bushes under the
was that
window.
all in Shadow of the Past?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh man, a large lord up. It's starting to pay off a little bit. Okay, well, Frodo, because Frodo hears that Gollum is around and is like, well, Bilbo should have killed him. To which Gandalf says, maybe you should show mercy. I don't know that you're going to kill him either. And Frodo seems to take that to heart.
Yeah.
Sam, I guess, he may have taken that to heart, but in a different way. Because he doesn't kill Gollum, and he doesn't even really try. Um,
Hmm.
I don't think he's trying to kill Gollum here,
Yeah.
but he
Yeah.
ends
I,
up.
I could imagine if Sam somehow were out here by himself, he I can imagine Sam killing Golem. Um, I think we're seeing another example of Sam's submissiveness,
Mhm.
trust of Frodo, which works out well for him. Because I think maybe that would sort of be Sam's alter reality villain arc, is if, even with the best of intention, just angrily kills this nasty creature in a situation where there's some more complicated things going on.
Yeah.
And I guess uncomplicatedly, that Golem has surrendered at that point. So,
Yes. Yeah, surrendered at threat of death, but
yes, no.
eventually surrendered.
Golem
Frodo.
has not made a very strong moral impression at this point.
Yeah, the first impressions have not gone well. Um, Frodo's Frodo pulls a sword on him, Sting,
Yeah,
and is like, "Don't be bad," and Gollum
yeah,
quits for the moment.
yeah,
You do see it. It is interesting to me. So when there is kind of a judgment being made here, Sam talks about just tying Gollum up and leaving him,
yeah.
which would be a funny thing to do. But Frodo says, no, don't do that. Let's be nice to
Yeah.
him, at least a little bit. Sam is making that kind of judgment for essentially a death sentence for Gollum
Hmm.
based on, um, what is it? Based on he meant to hurt us and he
Yeah.
still means to hurt us.
Yes.
So we should judge him for that. Whereas Frodo says, well, sure, he meant to, but I don't know what he means to do. And so
Hmm.
he kind of holds off punishment.
Well, and even I think it's even a little bit more of a fine line than that, because Frodo is pretty convinced by Sam that Golem probably means them evil in the future. Um, One of the things that's revealed in this chapter is Frodo and Gollum, in different ways, sort of think Frodo is naive. And he proves them wrong by the end of the chapter.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but Frodo's distinction is he hasn't done us evil yet. He meant to, he may mean to in the future, but we shouldn't judge him for something he hasn't done yet,
Mm-hmm.
like more specifically.
Yeah. Yeah. He. It's one of the age old questions of like, how do you deal with people like that, where you know
Yeah,
they're going to do something bad, but they haven't done it yet, and there's still a chance for them to choose to do good.
yeah,
And so I think it's good that Frodo is open to that. But also, when you are open to that, in many ways, that sets you up to be uh, to fall victim to people who
it
are
does.
just
Uh,
obviously not going to do good. And
it's a very risky thing to do.
uh, yeah, well, it's kind of impossible to judge based on that. There's not
Yeah,
really a good answer.
yeah. And Sam isn't being like some super pragmatic person here.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and it's nothing against him. It's just a morally simpler view. It's like, look, he meant to do evil. I don't do that. We should tie him up so he doesn't do evil to us.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a good point.
yeah. It is a good point.
Yeah, and it is it is curious. I'm reading this and I'm saying, Sam is right. They should just tie him up.
Yeah,
But also, I'm reading it with prior knowledge of exactly what Gollum is going to do. So, like, I don't know how I would actually react if this is the first time you've seen Gollum and you've heard old stories about what he did but you don't actually know what he will do, if that's an actual question for someone
Right.
reading this.
I really think this is a really, or it's a chapter that rewards you for thinking a lot about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And specifically this whole interaction.
Yeah. Yeah. The blindness thing is a little silly, but there's actually like good stuff in this chapter, so I
Oh,
don't
yeah,
hate
yeah.
it.
There's a one thing, it's just sort of a small thing, but when Gollum is described creeping down the cliff, he's described as insect like.
Mm-hmm.
And when he falls, he curls up in a ball like a spider.
Yeah.
And those are just, evocative sort of descriptions. But I don't think that's the only thing going on, that Gollum is being compared to a spider.
Hmm.
But we can unpack that later on as it comes up.
Might he be familiar with spiders? Hmm.
I think that is a safe assumption, huh?
Perhaps. Yeah, that is very interesting, and that whole interaction is in Two Towers.
Yes,
Yes,
that's
and
going to be the climax of this section. Yeah,
yes, the funny thing that the movie did was shuffle that around
yeah,
to make the climax of Frodo and Sam's story ends on Osgiliath in the
hmm
Two Towers, where they say, "By rights, we shouldn't even be here," which is true because they're never there in the books. But the whole Shelob interaction actually happens in Two Towers
yeah.
instead of Return of the King.
So I think you know we've done so many spoilers in this podcast already. I don't think we should apologize for
I
this.
think people know Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, if you're listening to this, probably you've known it before. I think it's really a good framing to keep in mind for Gollum's arc because he hangs around a bit more in Return of the King, but this is where we're really seeing his story is in this part of the book. This second part of Two Towers, I mean, and this is where we meet him, and it's with Shelob that's the climax to our main interactions with Gollum.
Yeah. Starts like a spider, ends like a spider.
Yeah,
Not a good guy, but we don't know it yet.
yeah,
Is the
and it's neat the tension between these two things. Yeah,
Yeah. I am. It is interesting because like the whole fate question also comes up here. I think
yeah.
Gollum is. If you just look at him, he looks like a bad guy. He
Oh yes,
talks like a bad guy. He acts like a bad guy, but he hasn't technically done anything wrong to them
to
yet.
them.
And
Yeah,
so it's like, well, Sam does end up being completely right on this. But at the same time, if they just tied him up or killed him in Aemon Will, they never make it to the Black Gate at all.
there's Tolkien doesn't just stop at like what's the ethical thing to do here,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe that would have been a more complicated question to answer anyway.
Yeah.
Ethics are definitely one of the things to consider here. But one of the answers Tolkien proposes is if you're if you do a morally merciful thing, God will make that work out for you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the very final point in the argument when we see Gollum at Mount Doom.
Yeah.
So
It does eventually work. It's
yeah,
it's not a comfortable road to get there, but it does
no, it's
eventually
not.
work.
Yeah.
Um,
One thing I noticed when they start actually speaking to Gollum, Sam has little patience for this. Frodo doesn't have too much more,
mhm.
and Gollum is just pathetic. Um, he could have killed Sam or Frodo easily if they were by themselves, but since he's outnumbered, he's groveling. He's being so self pitying. It really is just like a more like boiled down version, I think, of the dialogue we just read with Saruman. Actually,
Hmm.
Saruman is a lot more eloquent and maybe even a better liar. But if you boil down the way they're communicating, I think it's very similar. Um, Saruman is a lot like Gollum, but with more bells and whistles.
Saruman is evolved Gollum.
Yeah.
My favorite. My
If they
favorite
were
type of Gollum.
legitimately, if they were a Pokemon, it would go Gollum, Worm Tongue, Saruman.
The greatest trio. I should play the Gollum video game. I
I
would
heard
have
it was
fun.
terrible.
It's
Maybe,
terrible. It's bad. But I think it would be funny. Maybe if I can get it on sale, it's not worth full price.
maybe.
So yeah, so there is a whole conversation with Gollum. One of the reasons there is a whole conversation is because Frodo does remember the conversation he had with Gandalf,
Yeah.
and there's this cool bit, but it's also kind of weird
Okay.
where he remembers the conversation and like back in I guess Fellowship chapter 2 if it was all the way back there.
Yeah, that's right.
It was like an unanswered question, and now he's finally coming around to answer the question. But the way he answers the question is by legitimately answering the question that wasn't just asked to him. And so to
Yeah.
Sam, it looks like he's just sitting there and then like he just kind of says something
Yeah.
that's not really relevant. And it's weird because I was picking up a bit of Frodo in this chapter is kind of weird, kind of spacey, and like he's talking and it doesn't exactly match with what's being said. It
Hmm.
feels like half of his brain is there and half of it's not. And then you get to Gollum and half of his brain is there and half of it's not. And there's a mention later on at the end of the chapter where like Frodo and Gollum are totally different, but they can talk to each other. They can communicate
Yes.
really well based
Yeah.
on this
Their
kind
shared
of
experience with the ring. Yeah.
yeah, but it's represented like here of yeah, I'm going to
Yeah.
answer Gandalf's question. Well, Gandalf hadn't asked the question and it's been a long time at this point,
That
but
is
it
interesting.
appears.
I think you're right. I hadn't picked up on that exactly. In this
It's
case,
not
of course,
it's
it's
not
not
spelled
it's
out
not
in the
evil.
content of the
Yeah.
chapter, but it is in the framing of the chapter,
Yeah.
which is cool.
And I think you're right because this spaciness um is going to be is going to come dialed up to 11 in the next chapter.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
I have not read that yet.
You see a lot of tension in Frodo's mind and focus there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Frodo's got a lot going on in his head under the surface with like everything that's happening to him
Yeah.
and everything that he's doing. And Gollum also has that from a very different perspective, but he's got a lot going on under the surface
Yeah.
that
That's
needs
right.
fixing. So it is cool. This is the point where Gollum does attempt innocence. That he's not terrible. He will lead them. He's pretty cool. It's clear that he's not innocent, and I think everybody knows it. But he does try to pretend, and he does pretend somewhat successfully as you go through the rest of the chapter.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
I guess.
it's interesting. I think Gollum is trying to pretend at first, but by the end, I don't think he is pretending.
Okay. I think he is pretending at the end. Still, are you talking about the part where he's like jumping for joy and just happy and stuff?
I am talking about that. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Why do you think that's not pretending?
Um. Well, there's a couple more things. There's something right before then we should probably talk about first.
Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah, we can go in sequence. Gollum Gollum does say he's going to lead them.
Mhm.
Frodo just says, "All right, we're going to Mordor. Lead us there," which is
He's like,
like,
I hate that idea.
yeah. Well, it's kind of crazy to be like, "All right, I don't really trust you, but here's where we're going. Can you take us here?"
Yeah.
They don't really have a
Well,
choice,
yes, that's right.
but still,
It
it's
is sort of crazy.
a wild turn of events. It's funny that you hear Gollum is anti Sauron, he is anti orc, he is anti dwarf, he is anti man, he is anti
Yeah.
elf, he's anti Mordor, he's anti the moon, and he hates everything else.
Yes.
So, what you learn about Gollum is not so much the positive influence of things that he thinks and things that he likes and things that define him. It is just, I hate everything.
Yeah.
That's who he is, which is
Yeah. And
horrific.
there's this line from Star Wars Episode 1, your focus determines your reality. And Gollum is constantly saying how much he hates things, and he becomes a very hateable kind of person.
Huh. Where's that line? What? Who says that?
Qui-Gon says that to Anakin.
Huh.
Yeah.
Based. I knew that
Yeah.
episode 1 was the best episode of Star
I
Wars.
I think it's pretty good.
Yeah. Excellent. Not just because the sequels are bad,
Yes, yes.
but because Return of
Um,
the Jedi is bad. We're
we
just gonna
see
drop that and move on.
before the big climactic thing where Sam realizes Frodo isn't naive. You can see there is still a difference between mercy and being super stupid.
Hmm.
Um, they agree to let Gollum guide them, and then Sam and Frodo, even though there's this tension between what they should do with Gollum, Sam and Frodo are still in sync. They're on either side of Gollum that night. They look over and realize, okay, we can't go to sleep. We got to watch this guy, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah. And they
Like, even though
both.
there's some tension between what they think they should do, there's still a lot of trust there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's Frodo showing the ability and the willingness to lead even though
Yes,
Sam is uncomfortable with it, and it's Sam showing the ability and willingness to follow even though he's uncomfortable with it.
exactly. Yeah. I think it really is awesome
Yeah.
seeing that dynamic.
Yeah. If the
Um,
leader does not lead and if the followers do not follow, it doesn't work. I'm preaching on the golden calf on Sunday morning, and that's one of the
oh,
points that
hey.
comes out in the golden calf.
If your people there are familiar with Lord of the Rings,
Ah, yes. You know, Aaron is like a bad Frodo.
yeah,
What can I
it's
say?
true.
The golden calf is Gollum. Not a
What?
good thing. Should be distributed into water and drunk by the people.
Okay, this is too strange. Um,
You're
there's
welcome.
there's this very creepy bit here where Frodo asks if Gollum is being drawn to Mordor, and Gollum says yes. I mean, no, no, we're not going back.
Hmm.
Um, we don't really see a lot of overt, obvious magical power from Sauron, but you get this, and it's creepy. He has a dominance over evil creatures' minds.
Yeah.
Um, Gollum has a lot more independence than the orcs, um, but he's super corrupted. Um, and he was even given a mission. I think it's spelled out here or later from Sauron. Gollum doesn't really intend to do it, but it's not like he's completely independent of Sauron's influence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he was a
So
prisoner that was set free
yeah,
to do something.
it's
Are
that's
we? We're
another
gonna
thing I
have a
found
movie
weird
about
here.
that in a couple of years.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Is it
I think
just
that's
one,
one
or
of
are
the.
they doing it in two still?
I think there's. It's going to be more than one movie,
Oh my.
but I was thinking this is one of the an interesting parallel here too is we saw how shaken Pippin was just from talking to Sauron over the phone,
Hmm.
and there's two factors here for Gollum being so unhinged. One of them, of course, is having Sauron's ring for centuries,
Yep.
which definitely is Sauron's influence over this poor fellow. And he's also suffered under Sauron's hand in person. Like, I think it's in the next chapter. He says, "Yep, I've seen that he only has 9 fingers, and that's enough fingers."
Hmm.
Yeah.
Didn't know that was
So
in there. Okay.
yeah. So Pippin got messed up just over a phone call, and Gollum has had way too much exposure to Sauron.
Yeah. Is he? I haven't read The Hobbit in a long time. Is he written the same way in The Hobbit with like the breaks in personality and such like that?
I That's one of the only retcons Tolkien ever did.
Hmm.
So I don't know how he was in the first edition, but in the second edition, I think he matches up pretty well with this. Yeah.
Okay. It would be interesting if he was calmer in The Hobbit and then a more fragmented or like flighty version of himself
Yeah.
here.
I
But
mean, there probably is some of that.
yeah, maybe. But I would have to read a full literary analysis of The Hobbit on top of The Two Towers, and that's not
Yes.
happening right now.
Yeah.
There is something cool with Frodo's interaction with Gollum. He calls him Gollum the first time he talks to
Yeah.
him, but I think every other time he uses his name, he calls him Smeagol
Yes.
instead, which is like trying to humanize him as much as possible.
Yes, exactly.
I don't know. In in the movies, at least, that's displayed as kind of like he's calling out to Gollum's better nature and he's trying
Yeah.
to help
That's
him
the
be
case
good.
here
I
as
think it's
well.
also here.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see if that is consistent, but I feel like it probably will be as we
Mm.
go. They do. So they do. You mentioned they sit up Gollum between them. Frodo and Sam just kind of look at each other. They know they can't go to sleep. They also both fake going to sleep to see what
Yeah.
Gollum
In
will do.
sync. These guys are awesome.
Fantastic. Gollum runs. Obviously, they tackle him and tie a rope to his ankle.
Yes.
He, if he's not trustworthy, they're not gonna let that go happen.
No.
The rope is contrary to Gollum's sensibilities. I
That's a
guess
nice way to say that.
it burns him because it is good and he is not good.
Yeah.
So eventually, there's a whole debate about the putting on or like how do we trust this guy to do what he's going to do, and there's a whole swearing by the precious is ultimately where it comes down to.
Mhm.
Is I'm also preaching on the last half of Matthew 5 on Sunday evening, which is you shouldn't make your vow by something. You should just be able to say yes and no and be honest
Yeah.
about it. But
Yeah.
Gollum can't say yes and no.
Yes.
He has to
Golem's the
swear on something.
kind of person oaths exist for. I
Yeah,
can't trust what you normally say. Can we do something better here?
yeah. And Jesus basically says, if you're a trashy enough person, you have to take a vow. Like that's bad. That's not a good situation.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
But that's where they're at with him.
Yeah,
So they
you
get,
can tell this is sort of in the tradition of older, like legends,
yeah,
in that even evil people are kind of bound to the power of oaths.
mm-hmm.
It's not like a surefire thing. Because Frodo presses Smeagol on this. Um, Smeagol wants to swear on the precious, and on one hand, that is a trustworthy thing for Gollum to swear on because it's like the most important thing to him.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's not going to say a lie by the precious. But there's kind of this Frodo pops off a bit, kind of about almost the magic of oaths and the power of the ring. Says, "You can't touch it. How dare you say that? You're never going to touch it again." And also, you can swear by it, but you need to be careful because this is an untrustworthy thing.
Yeah. Nice of him to educate Smeagol on what vows are and how they work.
Yeah, well, it's helpful for me too.
And it's not even like a don't you dare think you could do this. It is that this is going to be bad for you,
Well, exactly.
right?
It's like, how dare you do something so stupid?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want you to hurt yourself. Even
Mhm.
in so there's the mention, this is a this is a bad thing to swear by.
Yeah.
Like it's powerful over you, but it's powerful over you because you're a bad person, right?
Yeah.
It is not going to be long term beneficial or good, and the ring is going to try and attempt something nasty with it. I also find it interesting that Gollum's oath was, "I will serve the master of the precious," which has
Mhm.
a lot of meanings depending on who you're talking about.
Sure.
Even
Yes.
going back to it's, I think it's Gandalf because Pippin says, like, make way for
Mhm.
Frodo, the Lord of the Ring, and Gandalf says, there's only one Lord of the Ring, right? It's
Yeah.
not Frodo. It's not any of us. And so even Gollum's words there is not I will serve you. It's ultimately I will serve Sauron. Like I'm going to do something evil.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
They're,
I don't even know that he meant it that way,
yeah.
but that's what it ends up meaning, and so that's curious.
Yeah. There's. I think that's a good thing to notice too. Yeah. I think so. There's that whole interaction,
Hmm.
and it really burns away Sam and especially Gollum's misconception of Frodo's naivety.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, Frodo recognizes this is kind of a very deceptive person. Um, like Gollum has not pulled the wool over Frodo's eyes.
Yeah.
Um, he's willing to threaten him if he's going to be committed to evil.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this is really interesting because Gollum has only been hanging out with orcs and nasty things, or by himself more often than not, for most of his life.
Yeah.
And Frodo has to be one of the first people ever who's treating him like a person. You mentioned that saying Smeagol is an appeal to his humanity. I think that's true, and I think Gollum notices that. Um, it's you know, I I feel like everyone's had this sort of experience on some level or another, where maybe you're caught doing something bad, and you are just really enthusiastic to take hold of someone's mercy, and maybe even to an extent where you're kind of fooling yourself. Like, I'm really, really excited about this.
Yeah.
And you're trying to convince yourself you're really excited about that. So I think there's some genuine happiness here. Gollum is hanging out with people, which feels good if you've been lonely for so long.
Yeah.
And I think he's trying to convince himself that he's changed by his promise, at least for now.
Mm.
But it's not going to be a flip switch like I think Gollum thinks it is right here.
Yeah. Yeah, then I think we're probably saying the same thing because
Okay.
he's pretending and he's kind of lying to himself.
Yeah.
If it's not just to them, it's also to him. Or there's an element of like you're not actually changed. You just want to be. You just pretend to
Yeah.
be.
I know for some things I've struggled with. It's like, oh, I've gained a small victory. I'm great now.
Yeah.
I think maybe that's sort of something Smeagol's going through right
Mm-hmm.
here.
Yeah. This is the first time he's ever been accepted by another being in the
Yeah,
last 500 plus years, ever since he left
something
his
like that.
Hobbit
Yeah.
adjacent hovel. Um,
Mhm.
Crazy. So there's a question on that. There's even a mention that Sam kind of hates the new version even more than the old. Like at least the old you can tell is absolutely evil, but the new one is like, am I supposed to trust that? And there's even a question on that. And so the
Yes.
chapter ends with those three traveling to Mordor, and it just kind of feels like a bad idea, but there's nothing else they can do. And so,
Sure.
interested to see how that's going to develop over the next
Yeah.
chapters.
I think I keep saying this, Reagan, but I think this section here is like was one of the best sections in the series.
Gallivanting on the road trip.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Gollum would be an interesting traveling companion. Not a good
Oh
one,
my goodness.
but an interesting.
It'd be it'd be so sad and stressful.
Mm-hmm. Well, at least we just get to read about other people dealing with it.
Yep.
And is there
All
anything
right.
else
Well,
on that chapter?
I don't think so.
Very cool. Then I guess we will leave it there, and next week I need to actually remember to like post these things on a regular schedule because I've been off track on that, but I'll get back to a weekly posting rhythm. Next week
Very
we'll do
good.
the passage of the marshes and deal with the dead marshes. Their
Yes.
dead faces
Very
in the water.
creepy. Very
Don't follow
creepy.
the lights,
Yeah.
etc.,
That
etc.
happens in the book too.
Oh, it does. That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think Tolkien ripped off the movies, or you think the movies are from the book?
I think, we asked a lot of good questions today, but that's probably one of the best questions to ask.
I think the Lord of the Rings Gollum came first.
No doubt. No doubt.
Uh, all right. Well, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.